electric cars are becoming a thing. I mean, if you've heard of Tesla out there, they are ramping up production, and are going to produce a new car that's something around $35,000. It's going to be a minimal entry car, because most new cars cost right around that price. It's not like the $60,000 to $80,000 cars that they've had before. And with battery technology improving, the range of these things are improving, and the cost is starting to come down. The next business out there that is saying, hey, you know what? Instead of selling just gasoline engines, we're not going to be doing that anymore. Volvo is going to be one of those businesses where they are changing their model. They're not going to be selling any cars that are just gasoline or just diesel engines. They are going to all hybrids. After 2019, all conventional engines will be ceased to be made. After that, there'll be no introducing old technology. And the fact is, just gas-powered engines or diesel-powered engines, it is 19th century technology. Let's face it. Now, what I like about this is that because Volvo has always been known for, safety and stuff like that, the fact is that they are moving in this direction. I think hopefully will push the other car manufacturers to do the same thing eventually. So we get away from having to use cars that just focus on just one fuel system. We have multiple of fuel systems to work with. Now, the only problem with the hybrid electric cars right now is when gas prices go down, the demand for these kind of cars that save gas go down as well. But when gas prices are high, then these things are called for more, because it's like, hey, I don't want to spend a shit ton of money. I just want to put in like $20 and then be able to travel 5,000 miles or whatever. And when battery technology improves to the point where we won't need gas engines any longer, then I will look forward to that day. Connie, your thoughts?
Well, okay. Electricity is fine, but guess what? Up here in the Pacific Northwest, most of our electricity is generated by dams, which regulated by rivers.
Mm-hmm.
And electricity has a cost also. We have a lot of very energy forward people who have, the hybrid cars. We have, a lot of Priuses and things on our roads. But what happens also is that they're not buying gas. And so gas tax here, we have a lot of taxes in Washington State, and taxes help pay for infrastructure. I'm pretty sure they pretty much just pay for our government to run, but anyway, it's supposed to pay for a lot of other things. And so if we have less gas bought, then thereby, taxes aren't being paid. And so they're talking about taxing these hybrid cars and by the mileage that you pay. So
really?
And my other question is, who can afford a Volvo? I think they're a really awesome vehicle.
Yeah, they are.
But as I looked it up online, it's like a new Volvo. Well, I guess it's their base model, mid-model car is like 35 grand, 35 grand. And I'm like, no, I can't afford that.
Yeah, no, I can't either. I do want to make one correction. I thought they were going to start phase out the gas-powered cars powered solely by gasoline and diesel around 2024. I just want to make that correction.
And I think you already said too that it's not that internal combustion engine is totally gone. It's just that it's the hybrid. That's what they're going for, is hybrid or totally electric. And car ownership in Europe and other countries is quite different than it is here.
Yes.
I won't go into that in great detail, but a lot of people, you don't just use your car every day. You spend a lot of time on maintenance and upkeep when you own a car. They use public transportation, or they do biking, or a lot of other things. So your car it's not like here. So
yeah, one of the things is that's the reason why they don't use their cars probably as often, and they use like other alternate forms of transportation, like bicycles, walking, public transportation, whatever, is because those countries are, by comparison, are much smaller. I mean, you can go from one country to another in the same distance that you go from Wisconsin to Florida. I mean,
instead of states, it's countries, actual countries. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole different ballgame. So everything's a little bit more compressed there. So that's why their usage for that kind of vehicle would probably make a lot more sense for them overall. Tom, your thoughts?
Has anyone seen the movie Logan?
Yes.
The new one.
Oh yeah, is that the one where it's the old Wolverine? And
yeah.
Okay.
I found it very interesting. There were a lot of cars in this movie, and they all appear to be just regular gas-powered cars. And it's supposedly it's taking place, significantly in the future. I forget what year it was, but it was,
Yes.
far enough in the future where I thought, we can't even conceive of energy efficient cars in movies, much less in reality.
Now that's an interesting thought.
And this is probably 10 years ago at least. Somebody was working on basically a jet powered car. Not that it was jet powered, but it had a jet engine that the turbine charged the batteries. So it used jet fuel, and it was getting like 150 miles to the gallon because it was using a high efficiency turbine engine, which uses I think a regular gas powered car uses 20% of the gasoline, where a jet turbine uses 80%.
It wasn't the Batmobile, was it?
No, but it was. I mean, it wasn't the jets that were powering the car. It was the jets powering the batteries that powered the car.
Yeah, no,
but jet engines are high efficiency motors.
Yes, they are.
And just moving to that would help dramatically. But everyone's like, oh, jet engines, they'll blow up. Hydrogen, oh, it'll blow up. We got to stick with our regular cars that we're used to that haven't blown up yet.
I'm wondering, cars never blow up. I'm wondering, though, what is the cost of a gallon of, I don't know, jet fuel to a gallon of gas?
My eldest son, who was working on on engines in the Navy, he was talking about how corrosive the fuel was.
Yeah, that's another thing. I mean, because part of the problem, and this is, Connie, especially where you are, part of the problem is the price of gas is completely bullshit. Because the price of gas is so subsidized by our tax dollars. If those tax dollars didn't go to the oil companies and went instead to local government, then issues like a hybrid car wouldn't cause people to think, oh, we're going to need to tax the hybrid cars to make up for the gas tax that we're not getting.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also about refineries and having to refine gas fuel different ways for different parts of the country. Again, I'm talking out of my ass because I don't necessarily fully understand that, but just that refineries which put the gas out. Yeah, you're right. It's when Packard was saying, oh, it has everything to, you look at the price of gas and stuff like that, and then everybody's interested, and no, that's the tail wagging the dog.
Yeah.
Why are we letting this happen? Is it because we're all cowboys and we have to just do things by the seat of our pants or whatever? I don't know.
Well, it's mostly because Americans are cowards to change. We are afraid to change. Everything's got to change all at once or not at all. That's the reason why we haven't moved to the metric system. The metric system we have been inching towards for over 40 years.
Oh, bump.
And as far as
I like what you did there, inching towards the metric system.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I read that down.
Hey, you want to know something, though?
Yes.
We are in the metric system because all the vehicles now, all the screws and stuff that are in it are all metric.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they've been metric for years.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's still a lot of standard screws out there. Atheist Ranger, what are your thoughts on this?
I think this is a good thing. I think the more, maybe if we rely less on gas, maybe we can make an impact on climate change. Maybe
that would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be. Yeah, I would hope so. Yeah. I would hope so. Matt, what are your last thoughts on this?
No, I was just saying that I don't think that's going to happen here in America because there's too much money involved with the gas.
Yeah, right now there is a lot of fingers in the pie with the gas industry.
That's because even with the electric cars. Yes, the batteries are improving, but they're still not to where they should be.
Yeah, definitely. Our battery technology is improving all the time. I mean, every time we turn around.
I know one of the places I work, the guy that owns the company, he bought one of those Tesla cars.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a $100,000 car, and he can only go about 300 miles on a full charge.
I do ride around that on a tank of gas, but I have a very small car.
Well, yeah, and you probably have about 10-gallon tank, probably.
Actually, only 8.5-gallon tank.
Okay, well, there you go.
But still, yeah.
If you can get 300 miles, I mean, that's still not nothing to sneeze at. That's still not nothing to sneeze at.
I got an 18-gallon tank in my little Sabre, and I could barely get 300 miles to a tank.
Exactly. If you can get 300 miles, a gallon per or in this instance, a charge on a single battery, that'd be great. I think the biggest hang up right now, it's not like when you go to the gas station, you go to put a tank of gas in, and it's, let's just say you've gone it down to empty. You're there for maybe 5, 7 minutes, and then you're done, and you're on your way to do another 300 miles or whatever. Right. With electricity, you can't do that. It takes a while to charge everything. I think that's our biggest hang up right now is the amount of time it takes to fuel up.
I mean, can't take it across country, you know?
Right, exactly. Unless you plan on stopping every 100 miles or so, and to top off someplace if you can, you know.
Well, most batteries have memory, right?
No, that's a very old technology. That memory thing.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Yeah,
no worries. No, it's a good question. It's a good question. Most people, that's what most people think. It's like, oh my gosh, if I charge it up too many times, I'm going to go a block and I'm going to run out of juice. No, that doesn't happen anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
the problem is we need to change the way we do everything. We need to have a whole different outlook on cars. We need to have a car at home that gets even 100 miles to a tank, because we're only going to use it for short term, something that we can plug in every night. And then on road trips, we need to be able to rent a car at a reasonable rate that doesn't have 50,000 different fees to screw you over to make you not want to rent a car.
Or just have a car that, you know, like Tom says, have an electric car for your average daily stuff. And then use your gas one when you have to go a longer distance.
Be able to rent a car that was a gas car that gets, that you can take cross country. I mean, I just went to Baltimore recently, and it was in less than a week I drove 2,000 miles. So I mean, you can't do that with an electric car. But
not yet.
But also with these electric cars, when you charge them up at your house, it uses up a ton of electricity. Yeah. You said the electric bill is sky high with this thing.
Yeah.
There you go.
We had some comments from the chat room here. I just want to get those in real quick before we move on. Fishhead Salad, thank you for your comment. He says, to think that electric energy, quote unquote, comes with a magical solution is silly. Dams, windmills, and other solar panels actually, all part of power comes from the sun in one way or another with great costs, both financially and ecologically.
Yes.
He continues on here, says there will be many shades of gray and many years when it comes to phasing out fossil fuels. I agree with that completely. It's going to take a while. Oil is like heroin to us. It's like, this is what we need. We need the oil. So, eventually it's going to take a while to take that oil heroin out of our arms and go to solar or other alternate forms of power. And he did mention geothermal and solar, of course.